government stuff and education, they love it. It's a great thing. Education, education, education. The government are involved in education all the time. And what they desperately, desperately want to have is some really, really good stories by the time the next election comes, so they can actually say, education, education, education. Isn't that a good thing to move on? And maybe it'll deflect people's attention from the fact the economy's falling apart. The government are hugely involved in trying to make education at the centre of things. And they're doing quite a lot in there. I mean, some of you might have heard of something called Building Schools for the Future, which is putting about 35 billion into rebuilding or refurbing every secondary school in the country. That's a fairly decent amount of money, and it's one of the things that actually makes the market quite attractive to quite a range of providers, ourselves included. We've got things like academies. We've got the National Challenge, which is this great national scheme to get every school above this great figure of 30% 5As to Cs. But actually, one of the big problems we've got is the fact that the government want to get results within a term. And actually, within schools, it's bloody hard work. And actually, to get to that particular point takes more than 4 years if you really want to deliver those results. Politics. There's a whole load of politics outside of government in there as well. There's the private sector engagement in education, which kind of seems to be starting to happen. And all the nods and winks you get, I think it's going to happen, you're going to be all right. But it's still the one area of public service that actually the private sector find it really hard to get involved with, that real core activity of making sure that schools are absolutely delivering a fine service. We've got local authorities, political local authorities, who are desperately trying to remain powerful entities in their own rights. Some are. Others are actually looking at becoming effective commissioners of services. And that's kind of a developing area within the political sphere, one that I think we certainly welcome. Standards still keeps coming around to come and bop everybody on the head. And just to say that ongoing short-term results bit. In terms of the media, I challenge anybody to find, if you are sad enough to watch breakfast TV, I don't think there's ever a day when there isn't actually a story about the world of education and schools on breakfast TV. And Sarah, whatever her name is, who goes and does the school bit on breakfast TV, she's always there in some school across the country showing something. It's always in the media. And if you want the sad end of that, there was the Baby P case, where obviously you've got social services linked in with education. It's all one big combined thing, where you've got real problems of actually people, absolute tragedies occurring. Interestingly, we were at a conference a couple of days after that story really broke, and we had a whole load of directors of children's services, the people there who actually head that part of the market, came along to that conference. And this group of people were looking absolutely panic-stricken because they know that, for the grace of God, it could have been them who was actually being pilloried publicly for the failure of their services. So the media is a huge influence on what actually goes on. So, just things that kind of drive us, I suppose. Social, economic, moral. I mean, the social bit, just think about those children who are leaving school without those qualifications. Think of the opportunities that those children actually have to be successful in their lives moving forward, and what the implications are if those children are not successful. Economics, I leave that one to your imagination. And the moral drive is about just making sure that we actually do offer children a great opportunity in life. So those are things that we think kind of drive us and drive the market. Political involvement and improvement, we can't get rid of that. The one thing we do have, is going right the way back to those pictures, is actually there is still pretty much a systemic resistance to change. People think we know how to run a school. I've sat in meetings with architects who've been going there and talking to people about and what schools need to look like, and they come back to the office after and say, no, we know what a school looks like. We've designed loads of them. They've got boxes called classrooms and corridors and things like that, and you can make them out of Lego. So that's a little bit about the market in which we work. It's a fascinating place. There's lots of opportunity to actually make this a vibrant market for the future, but we're just on the first signs of the slopes. We're starting to move it in the right direction. Bit about us. Thought the best thing to do for a kick-off was just to tell you what some of our customers say, and also to say what Ofsted actually say about some of the stuff that we do. Always good to get the voice of the customer involved, isn't it? I thought that's the reason for doing it. And you can see from that some of the things that we do. Most of those quotes are about schools, because as an organisation we actually work with schools. We do stuff at the school level. We roll up our sleeves and we get involved in schools to help them to actually make stuff better. And the quote from Ofsted up in the top right there actually just gives an indication about bringing change and rapid progress. That's what we're kind of about. I thought it's worthwhile putting some of the media quotes in there as well. We have an American parent company, and an American parent company with quite an interesting history. I'll say a bit more about that later. But occasionally we do kind of hit the press, and because we do work at school level with children in schools, when we do actually hit it and the profit motive comes out, we live an interesting life. Kind of just run through a chronology so you understand where we come from. 1992, there was a thing called the Edison Project in the States. It actually comes very much out of the moral driver about saying, look, there is a ticking time bomb going off. If we don't start doing something about the quality of education, we have got to, we are responsible for the consequences. The Edison Project actually went and got a large amount of funding from the markets in America and actually went off to research what excellent schools are about. And it was about a 3-year project which ended up with this organisation called Edison Schools. And Edison Schools got involved in the business in the States of running state education. They had this wonderful phrase, they have it called EMO, which is an education management organisation, and that's how they define themselves in the States. 2003, we started over here. I was one of the team of 3 that started the organisation over here, predominantly as a change management and consulting organisation, working with schools to help them actually to achieve the visions that they were working towards. And it's amazing how that's kind of come back to us now in terms of enterprise visions, with actually a very good organisation at helping schools to understand what their enterprise vision is and start to plot a path towards it. We've moved forward. The other thing, just to kind of sound the chronology, is the fact that we're now called Edison Learning. That was a great decision they took in the States. It was really good that they told us about it and involved us in the decision making, but hey, I'm not bitter. But we're now Edison Learning. We're an organisation that's involved, I think, much more broadly around the whole concept of learning. But the slogan the company uses is a world-class education for every child. So that's really the driver that we're actually about. And the things that drive us, you might kind of got the thing already, values-based organisation. We are very much about delivering against that moral purpose. What are the things that we believe in? We believe in research. It's quite interesting, again, coming back to Chris Whittle and his passion with aeroplanes. He reckoned that in the United States, Boeing spent more on designing the overhead lockers on the 777 than America spent in total on education research. It's scary, that one. If you compare it with what they spend on health, completely scary. We believe in research. We actually believe in let's go and find out what the hell you're supposed to do to make schools better, and then develop products, ideas, processes to put it in place. We're an organisation that's focused on delivering outcomes at school level. So again, thinking in Bree's terms, business box for us has actually always been something we've understood. I think we've struggled to actually try and define and get it down to detail, but as an organisation, delivering outcomes at school level is something that's very much within our DNA. And the quality thing, I put quality down there. It's about replicability and transferability of what we actually try to do. So we don't go in there and try and invent. And this is when Ian came along and started talking to us about kernels and veneers. I'm sure a lot of you have gone through that spiel. It's nice to know he churns it out everywhere. The concept of actually having a kernel and then having a lubricant or a veneer around it, absolutely what we fundamentally believe in is go and invest, develop, get your kernel right, and then apply your kernel as broadly as you can. And the last bit is just something now they call fish. Anybody heard of the fish philosophy? Yeah, it's just something as an organisation that's very much within us, and it's actually about playing, having fun, and choosing the right attitudes of success. But fish philosophy is something worthwhile going and having a look at if you get bored when you're sitting in front of the computer. So that's a little bit about us. Those are some facts and figures, not going to say much more about that. And the challenges we were facing. Growing a profitable business, evolving the culture, and taking E2 to market. Right, growing a profitable business. In the early days, so we started off working very much at a school level, focused on what they do actually in schools. And actually, we were a B2C business. Yeah, we were going out there, we were trying to engage with individual schools and getting individual schools to commit to spending quite large amounts of money on change management programs, which is something that schools just don't know anything about. They're very immature when it actually comes to commissioning and purchasing, and actually it was bloody hard work. We got some great success stories out of it. Most of the clients that we actually picked up in those early days are actually still with us, working in different ways, shapes and forms. But it was hard work, and we recognised very early on, and one of the reasons for wanting to engage with Breeze was actually we knew that we had to evolve from being B2C to actually moving up much more towards the B2G environment, starting to engaging with government. We had huge costs of sales. We also, I just scribbled a note down here, so we had happy customers don't always make good references. So we knew we had happy customers. We've run client surveys for years, and we knew we had happy customers. But when you actually went and challenged people about it, what they were saying, it's great working with Edison.